ways I would like for us to start this, you and I just talked about this before we started, is actually to kind of start by assuming that I was someone who came to you and said, you know what, I need coaching. What is the framework? How would you start that conversation with me and help me understand ultimately what my emotional needs are? I think that's a lot of what the 7 framework, the primal questions, the 7 questions of it are. How would you start doing that with someone?
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on in terms of, to me, in terms of all work that I do with people and how I understand people's behaviors or choices, their thinking patterns, is through this whole concept of understanding their highest emotional need that drives their life. And that is represented in this different 7 primal questions. And there's one question of those 7 that drives our life, and really is what I call the emotional command center, the reason why we make decisions around relationships, jobs. It expresses our giftedness and our strengths. All of it is flowing from this place. And so whenever I'm working with a client, it's always, I want to understand first and foremost, what is that need? Because once we can understand what that need is, everything starts to make sense, not only for the client, but also for anybody working with the client. And when I mean working with a client, it could be like a spouse, a friend, a team leader. All of a sudden, I understand so much more about this person. So what I would do in terms of identifying the primal questions, or the primal question that drives your life, we look at a few different things. And the thing that I always like to start with is really what we call the primal gift. And it's really this idea of what is your relational superpower? What do you do really, really well in your relationship? So Kimberly, I'd say, hey, when you're in relationship, what do people say about you? Like, you're a kind person? Are you a generous person? Do people just feel safe around you? Do you help make everything better? Are you a person of vision? Like, these are clues to understanding what's happening deep inside of you. So I'd start there. So like for you, like what do you think people say about you, Kimberly?
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually, a couple of months ago, I sent out an email to like 30 of my peers, friends, family members. A mentor had encouraged me to do this and asked, what are 2 to 3 words you think of when you think of me? Which isn't quite the same question, but the number one answer that I got back was, you're driven, you're encouraging, like you make things happen. And I resonate with that. Yeah. So I think that in relationships, people would say, I make things better by encouraging, but also by seeing a way through things and helping people get to the other side of it.
Great. So just on that answer alone, and there's some other areas we'll explore about you, I'm starting to orient around a few key questions which would represent your highest emotional need. But I want to keep going further.
Yeah.
Because the second thing I would ask you in our assessment, as we're talking about identifying your primal question, is I'd ask you, what is your message to the world? What is the thing that you would want people to know about themselves? Like, if you could only say one thing, not a whole paragraph, but like, this one thing, I just want people to know this about themselves.
About themselves.
What would that message be?
That they are strong and they are capable and they can do great things.
Okay, great. So, by the way, you can see both of those things about what people say about you, and then also your message to the world, are very much in alignment there.
They are, yeah.
So we're starting to again orient around a particular thing. So third part, and this is the less I would just say positive question that I ask clients, but it's really important to revealing your primal question, is talk to me about your triggers. Okay, the things that send you into an emotional scramble, that get you emotionally dysregulated, that really just like fire you up. What do I have to do to make that happen? Like, what's happening that sends you into this triggered state?
Oh, Mike,
I know. See, you thought this was going to be easy. It's not easy. We got to talk about the real stuff here.
Oh, opening a can of worms. Yeah. There's at least two main ones that come to mind first. When people don't do what they say they're going to do, or they're not doing their job, not getting done the thing that they said they would get done, is one. But then another one is when I feel like people have stabbed me in the back, or when they have lied to me, when they didn't tell me the truth about something and then just went and did something else. Both of those scenarios really get me, as well as losing, like not hitting the mark.
Okay.
Not doing even just like what makes me mad at myself. Like, if I go to the gym and I love the programming that I do at the gym I have, but if I see someone like lifting a heavier weight than me, you better believe I'm going to be adding stuff on. And there's like a feeling inside of me as I'm doing it of like, I have to win. I have to do this.
Okay, great. So here, I'm going to summarize some of that, and feel free to correct me on anything here. So, when you lose, when people let you down, when people underperform, the betrayal to me is just like, you said you were this and you did that, kind of this whole misrepresentation of who you are. So there's a lot of just, again, performance type stuff here that if people aren't living up to that, what they claim to be, or underperforming, or not trying hard, or do lazy people bother you? Like laziness in general, like is idea like just kind of good enough is like me. Is that
like a lack of a drive to get something done?
Yes, lack of a drive
does bother me. Yep.
Okay, good. All right. Let's go to probably the last area that I'd explore. And this is a little bit even harder, but part of the primal question is in our early childhood is where the primal question is imprinted. That question, we learn about the world in our families. Okay. We learn about the world from our caretakers. And so basically what happens is this primal question this emotional need gets imprinted, and then we carry that into our adult lives. Okay. So talk to me about some of the themes or the messages that you got as a child from your caretakers.
Yeah. So there are two very clear messages that come to mind. One of them is from as young as I can remember. I remember both my mom and dad saying that they were proud of me and that I was going to do great things. That message was reverberated, to this day. And the other thing I remember is I was a straight A student. And when I would bring my report card home and it would say A+, my dad jokingly would say, do better next time. But I never took it as a joke. And so I always felt like I had to like outperform the best that I did before. And I still feel like, so even though it was a joke and I have a great dad, I definitely like internalized that comment as your best was not good enough. Do better.
Yeah. Okay. So again, we're getting messages and themes from our caretakers. And by the way, none of the primal question or any of this framework is about blaming parents for this emotional need or this primal question. It's just a way of understanding how it got there. Okay? Yeah. So again, for you, performance, success, being the best, these are themes that you were wrestling with in your childhood and that you remember clearly. Now, of course, there are other discussions, other themes, other needs that were certainly brought up in your family. But this particular one seemed to be the most hot theme, the one that you remember most clearly. So here's where now let's get to seeing what resonates best with you in terms of your primal question. So there's three that are in this category. And really it's what I just call the performance category. And again, the way the model works is when we get a yes to our primal question, we feel good, we're our best selves. But when we get a no to our primal question, we go into what I call the scramble, which is all the unhealthy things or ways that we try to force the answer back to a yes so that life can be good again. Okay. So I'm going to give you 3 options and you tell me what resonates with you. And again, all we're looking for is some language that helps you understand your drivers, understand your perspective on relationships and life, on work, on yourself. So question 5, which is, am I successful? Which has to do with really your kryptonite, or the thing that would instantly send you into your scramble, would be failure. Okay. Failing, underperforming, underachieving. Question 6, which is the question, am I good enough? This is really about your value and worth. And sometimes with this question, people will struggle with perfectionism. Sometimes they struggle with insecurity about themselves, or like imposter syndrome, because they never feel like they're good enough to do something. And so they tend to be overachievers because they're always trying to get that primal question answered with a yes. Or the third option would be question 7, do I have a purpose? And these people are really about the need, the compelling need to have an impact in the world, to have significance in what they're doing. And again, if they feel like that's not happening, they get a no to that question, then they're going to go into their scramble and work really, really hard to get that question back to a yes. So out of those 3, is there any one that resonates with you more strongly than the others?
They all resonated with me. Now here's the thing. I did take the assessment, so I know what the results of the assessment that I took said. But I didn't look at the two after. So what my results were: successful. Am I successful? And for sure that's there. But then when I hear, am I good enough? That resonates with me, but I would not say I'm a perfectionist. And I don't know that I struggle with imposter syndrome, but maybe, like, it may be a blind spot of mine. But the purpose one, because I like as I said before, the thing that I was told and have been told my whole life is you are going to do great things for people. Like you have a purpose. So in that way, I feel like that is a huge one for me, because it's the expectation I've had of myself because of that and other reasons for, 30 plus years.
Yes. So probably what in our little coaching session here, what I would say is, or a question I would ask you is, it does feel like success, the am I successful question very much resonates and kind of hits down the center of the plate. Not that the good enough or the value, because one of the things that we all have is what I call a satellite question, which is the question next to your question. But one of the things I'd ask you about purpose is part of having a purpose or in an impact, doing something big or great, like your parents talked about. If that were to happen, do you then feel successful?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is where we start tapping into actually the core question that you're trying to get answered with a yes. See, it's not necessarily that it's purpose that you're trying to get answered with a yes, that I have a purpose, and that in itself is your emotional need. It's that you see having impact, doing important work, making a difference in the world is tied to your success. And it answers your am I successful question with a yes. It affirms that.
That 100% resonates. Yes. Okay. You hit the nail on the head.
Okay. So here's what we would say. Kimberly, your primal question is, am I successful? And when you get a yes to that question, you are your best self. The other thing that flows from that primal, and when you get a no or a maybe, then we go into the scramble. For sure. And basically what happens, and it looks different for everybody, but it's basically us taking our kid logic, all of these ways that we learned how to be successful or look successful to the world or to our parents early on in our lives, we bring out all of those tools and we start deploying those sometimes unhealthy, inefficient, kid-like tools to make us seem successful so we get back to that yes, so that life can be good again. But here's the thing for you. There's two things that I would say. Number one, the medicine that I would subscribe for your question of am I successful is what we call the primal truth and living in our primal truth. It's taking the question and moving it to a statement. I am successful. See, as long as we are throwing this question out to the world, asking them to answer it for us, or throwing it out to situations or an external answer, we then live at the mercy of those answers. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we live from our primal truth, that statement, we're no longer asking the question. Because Kimberly, you know you're successful. You know you're talented and gifted. You know you have these strengths and abilities. That is not in question and shouldn't be in question. And you can look at other areas of your life, your work, family perhaps, or friends, or all these different areas and go, of course I'm successful. I mean, come on, right? And so when you live from that place, you're then able to give what I call the primal gift. And the primal gift is what the research shows, that we take our primal question and we put it over everybody else. And we assume they're asking the exact same question. And then we are experts in answering yes to that primal question for them, even though they may have a very different question. So what that means is you have a PhD in how to make other people successful. Okay. You know the pathway to make people great and to challenge them, to help lead them, to show them opportunities, because this is all in your wiring because of your own primal questions. This is a gift that you have, and you should be deploying it and looking for ways to deploy it. But if you're in your scramble, still wondering if you're successful, that gift gets truncated. That gift gets minimized because you're spending all this energy trying to figure out whether you're successful instead of pouring, having that success cup already overflowing and you can just give it away to others.
Mike, I love this. So I don't just love this because of me. Like, I don't just love it because of what you're saying about the successful question and how it applies to my life. I love this because, and I want to get into what all of the 7 questions are. But I love it because no matter what someone has answered, there is a hope on the other side of it. Like, this is something for you to give back to others or to do for others, the gift that you call it. This is your gift for others. And I love it. And I don't want to shoot down the Enneagram, although it's not my favorite thing in the world, but I love it more than the Enneagram type stuff because I feel like a lot of times people will use things like that to just get stuck in what they're currently doing or the pain or whatever. And there's such a clear, there is goodness in you and how God made you and how you're wired. And this is it. And this is how it can look in your life. I love it. Love this.
Well, that's a big thing for me because I agree. I like the Enneagram. I like a lot of assessments, but so often it tends to be self-focused and sort of an explanation for my bad behavior.
Right.
And I'm like, no. This is an opportunity to understand ourselves so we can operate in wholeness so that we can get to the real business of bringing the blessing of us to the world. Okay. Helping others. My primal question, maybe we can talk about the different questions. My primal question is, am I safe? Okay. That's primal question number 1. And that I got imprinted with that question because of abuse early on in my story. And so everything I think about is around the idea of protecting myself, safety, risk management. My scramble looks like hypervigilance, hyper control, trying to figure out everything that could possibly go wrong on something. Yeah. Okay. So this is the way that I see, and those are the things about me that I have to manage. Now that doesn't make me broken. That doesn't make me bad. It just means that's the core emotional need driving my life. Okay.
Right.
And I have to manage that in a healthy way. But here's the gift of it. Again, I take my primal question, I put it over Kimberly right now. I put it over everybody that I meet, every client that I have. I assume they're asking the same question, am I safe? Okay. So guess what happens, Kimberly? People tell me their deepest, darkest secrets after knowing them for about 2 or 3 minutes. I actually have to warn people because I do group work and I'll speak and I have to warn people about the gift part of that safety thing because they will open up so big in front of an audience that sometimes they regret saying things. And so that's a gift that I want to look to deploy to help people feel protected and safe so that it can be vulnerable in their conversations and open up about painful things. Remind them that they're okay. A lot of times, I come in to help with conflict resolution because people feel I'm fair, I'm unbiased, I'm a safe place for us to have these dangerous conversations. And so again, brokenness, yes, but this incredible gift that's come from it. And if I'm living in my scramble, wondering if I'm safe, I'm not going to engage there. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to step back. No primal gift going out on that one. Okay. It's just then about me and my own hurt and my own feeling lack of safety. But when I live in my primal truth, I am safe. That allows me to engage in the world in a really positive way.